Hello, how are you? This is Stephen. Welcome to the show. I'm so excited about this show. I was reading the Bible and it just entered my mind to do this show. It's called Let's Argue the Bible. I like to argue with my husband whenever we get to sit down about the Bible, things about the Bible, because I want to learn more. And I like to dig into the Bible, and me being inquisitive about the Bible and asking questions helps me to unravel more things in the Bible. So if you're like me and you would like to unravel things, if you'd like to know more things, or you're inquisitive, or you always have these questions in your head concerning things in the Bible, then this is a show for you. So tune in and watch the show. This is not a live broadcast, but it will be uploaded every time I do the video. So I would like to get questions, any of your questions. I know you probably have questions, and I have a whole lot of questions. I question myself. I dig into the Bible just to find out the answer to the question. And when we argue, I argue with my husband a lot. We basically go head to head, you know, concerning those questions that I would ask. And sometimes, most of the time, he has answers, and sometimes he doesn't. And sometimes I agree with his answers, and sometimes I don't. But anyway, so we're going to argue, we're going to fight, we're going to fuss about it. You're going to agree and you will disagree. We will agree and disagree, but all in all, there'll be some truths in it. Okay, so my first question for today is about Judas. Judas Iscariot. He's a disciple of Jesus, but he betrays Jesus. However, it was in the will of the Father for Jesus to die. So why was it such a bad thing for him to do? Why was it sin for him to do that, even though it was in the will of God? So because he walked in the will of God. If he walked in the will of God, so why was it a sin? Why was it such a bad thing? So we're going to go into the Bible and uncover that. So that's the first question. And if you have other questions, drop it on the comment section and we will deal with them one at a time. This is in Matthew chapter 26. It's also in the book of Luke. It's also, I think it may also be in the book of John. But Matthew chapter 26, verse 14 says, one of the disciples, Judas Iscariot, moved by the devil, went to the high priest and said, what will ye give me if I hand him over to you? And they gave him, immediately he asked that question, they gave him 30 pieces of silver. They didn't waste time. Immediately they gave him 30 pieces of silver. And once they gave him the 30 pieces of silver, he was committed. He said, what will you give me if I hand him over to you? And they gave him 30 pieces of silver. And like I said, once they gave it to him, he was committed. Now, in the same chapter 26, verse 3, it says, then the chief priests and the elders of the people gathered in the open court of the palace of the high priest, called Caiaphas, to discuss the arrest of Jesus secretly and to put him to death. So they sat down and they discussed this. Right after they sit down and they discuss it, the devil enters into Judas Iscariot. He said he was moved by the devil. This is in verse 14. He said he was moved by the devil. And he went and he asked them, what will you give me? I'm going to hand him over to you. So these guys are busy contemplating what they're going to do or how they're going to capture Jesus, because they've been trying and they didn't succeed. So now they're sitting down and they're discussing it. While they are yet discussing it, someone comes over, a disciple. Not only any old person, he's one of the disciples. He's an apostle. Imagine that. So he comes and he gives them, he says, I'm going to hand him over. That made it so much easier for them. So was the devil walking hand in hand with God to fulfill the desire of God? The Bible says that Jesus was prepared as a lamb for the sins of the world before the foundations of the world. It was in the will of God. Even when Jesus was in the Mount of Transfiguration, they appeared to him, Elijah and Moses. So, while Jesus was on the Mount of Transfiguration, they appeared to him, Elijah and Moses. And they're telling Jesus what he's going to go through. So, he was supposed to go through that. But now it says the devil entered into the heart of Judas to betray. All right, so Judas makes it easy for the chief priests and the elders and all of those people that wanted to kill Jesus. He tells them, what will you give me? I'm going to hand him over to you. So my question again was it a betrayal if indeed Judas was walking in the will of God? Because it was in the will of God, it was in the plan of God. If one is walking in the will of God and in the plan of God, to do or to help someone to do what God has called them to do, is it a betrayal or is it not? That is one thing I want you to think about. Now, Jesus, on the day of the feast of Passover, he did disclose that someone was going to betray him. Let me see where that is. This is in the same chapter of Matthew 26. Says, when it was evening, he was reclining at the table with the 12 disciples, and as they were eating, he said, one of you will betray me. He perceived that in his spirit, I said, and he could see it. They were exceedingly pained and sorrowful. And they began to say or to ask one another, is it me, Lord? It is not me, it cannot be. And then he responded in verse 23, it is he who has dipped his hand in the same dish with me that will betray me. Now, I want you to put your comment, whatever comment you have. The Son of Man is surely going to be betrayed, or he's surely going to die, as it is written of him. But woe to him of whom the Son of Man is betrayed. I'm reading this, please, so that you can see, because it said, woe to him. It said, the Son of Man is surely going to die. He knows he's surely going to die. It's in the will of the Father for him to die. But he's saying, woe to him of whom the Son of Man is betrayed. So It says, it goes on further to say, it would have been better if he had not been born. So that means it cancels out the day. This is Jesus talking. This is the Son of God talking. And his words carry weight. It carries authority. If he's saying, woe to you, that means you're condemned. Then he further adds, it would have been better if you were not even born. That means it cancels out the fact that you exist. It cancels out everything about you. So this was very serious. This is like a death sentence. He judged Judas. He judged Judas. Right there. I said from that day, even though Judas got up, if Judas had known, he would have cried out for forgiveness from that day. But from that day, Judas died spiritually and physically. Even though it had not manifested physically, it will manifest later. But from that day, Judas died. Judas died. Or he cried, or he lied, saying, "It is not me, Master." It cannot be. He said to him, "You have stated the fact." Jesus said, "You have stated the fact." So, again, he said, "Woe to him." But Peter also denied him. Almost the same, but not quite. One person was offered money to betray him. The other was not offered money. They just denied out of fear. By the way, Peter followed him all the way to the place where they killed him. Now, so this other one obtained the money to hand him over to die. So he knows they're going to kill him. But probably he was thinking they would not be able to capture him, because the whole time they've not been able to capture him. They've been planning to take him, but this time they did capture him. He probably didn't know it will fall through, that they would really capture him. So Jesus prays for Peter. He said, "Satan wants to sift you as wheat, but I have prayed for you." So I asked, why again did Jesus not pray for Judas? It says that he was influenced by the devil. Definitely he was influenced or moved by the devil. So the whole time Judas is doing whatever he's doing it veiled. He's doing it without fully knowing himself. Jesus is aware of this. Why didn't Jesus pray for him? Why didn't Jesus deliver him? Why didn't Jesus heal him? Again, I blame Judas, because Judas went on with it. He left. He left and still went to accomplish what he had in his mind. Remember, he has taken money. He could have still returned the money, but he went on with his desire to do what he wanted to do. He didn't stop. I wish he stopped. I wish he didn't go on to accomplish what he wanted to accomplish, but he went on. Jesus could have delivered him. Jesus had been casting out devils. He cast out devils. He healed the dead. He healed all manner of sickness. He healed the lunatic that was possessed with demons. So why didn't he heal Judas? Clearly, he was moved by the devil. One time, even when Peter spoke to him, he said, "Get thee behind me, Satan." Because he knew this was a time, exactly, we're still on the same topic, because now Jesus tells the disciples, "I'm about to be crucified." Peter tells him, no, Lord, you shouldn't say this. Not you, Jesus. Master, you shouldn't be saying these things. These are negative words you're confessing. You're not going to be killed. You shouldn't say you're going to be killed. And he says, get thee behind me, Satan. So now this thing is about to happen. Somebody else is helping him to accomplish it. And he says, woe to him. It would have been better if you were not born. So again, why did Jesus say, woe to him? Why again did he say it would have been better if you were not born? This is a question I asked myself. If Judas was moving according to the will of the Father, Jesus, even that night, kept praying, Father, the night before he was captured or he was crucified, he kept praying, or right before he was crucified, he kept praying, Father, let this cup pass away from me. Nevertheless, not my will, but your will. But the Father did not respond. The Father didn't help him. The Father didn't do anything. Basically, the Father did not listen to him because he had to go through the cross. How else was it supposed to be fulfilled? If the Father answers him, if the Father answers that prayer, that specific prayer, then the will of the Father would not be done. Then Jesus would not die. Was there another way Jesus would have died without Jesus, without Judas betraying him? And there might be the key. Probably Jesus would have just been captured another way without Judas interfering. Or something else would have happened, but I'll just have it maybe, just maybe, because God has not revealed it to me. Unless God reveals it to me, then we will really know, or then I will really know. But for now, I think that Jesus would have died another way without Judas or anyone, because it says it would have been better for that man. So even if it was not Judas, any other person that would have served as an instrument or contributed to the death or the betrayal of Jesus would have still been damned. It doesn't matter if it was Judas. So maybe Jesus would have died another way. So, and there's the answer. Because he was destined to die. It was in the Father's will for him to die. So maybe the Father would have made another way for him to die. Even that night that Jesus kept praying, Father, let this cup pass away from me. I kept wondering, what did Jesus think the Father would do? What was Jesus thinking the Father would do? He said, I would have prayed for angels to come to my rescue. And I said the Father probably would not answer that question, that prayer either. Because the whole night he kept saying, Father, let this cup pass away from me. Let me go to that place. Okay, that is in Matthew chapter 36. Matthew chapter 36, verse 42 and 41. Verse 42, again he said, he went and he kept praying the second time. And he prayed, my Father, if this cannot pass by unless I drink it, if this cup does not pass by unless I drink it, your will be done. The first time he prayed, he said, Father, let this cup pass away from me. Nevertheless, your will be done. Let your will be done. If it is possible, verse 39 to be more specific, that he threw himself upon the ground on his face and he prayed, saying, My Father, if it is possible to postpone this course indefinitely, please let this cup pass away. This is the Amplified Bible. The Amplified Bible explains it further. That let this cup pass away. Nevertheless, not what I will, but as you will it. So that's the prayer that he prayed. Jesus did not want to die. He knew he would die, but he really did not want to die. Now, I look at it this way. He's been in the earth realm. He has formed relationships with people. He loves people. He's been moving around. He's doing ministry. He loves everything that he does. He has the apostles. He has formed relationships with them. They love him and he loves them. So he doesn't want to leave. He doesn't want to die. Not only that, the pain of you having to go through death is one thing. The second thing, the pain of you carrying the sins of the whole world upon yourself, is another whole thing entirely. So he really didn't want to go through it because he knew it would be painful. Probably they showed him all the torture that he would have to go through. And nobody wants to die that way, to be tortured, mistreated, abused, like you were some common person or like you were a criminal. I don't think Jesus wanted to go through that. So he was praying, Lord, let this cup pass away. Let it not happen. So he didn't want to go through it. He didn't want to die. So we all know the reason why he had to die. So that one is not a question. But the question that I had was, it was in the will of the Father for him to die. Judas played a very vital role in handing him over to the chief priest for him to be crucified. So if Judas played that role, why was he condemned? And we know that later on Judas killed himself when Jesus was taken and he was crucified. I don't think Judas really knew that Jesus would be caught and he would be crucified. So when it actually took place, he felt condemned. The condemnation really took place then, after he died. So, but he was already condemned from the period that Jesus told him, woe to any man. He was condemned from that point and he died from that point. All right, so that's the end of the show for today. So tune in next time to see what other question we would have to deal with. You might agree again, or you might not agree with me that maybe Jesus would have died some other way. And you might also agree with me. Another thing I wanted to talk about before I even leave, was it a betrayal? And yes, it was a betrayal. Now, it was a betrayal in the sense that he was a close friend to Jesus. By that, I mean he was close. He walked with Jesus. He ate with Jesus. He was an apostle. So If somebody else does it, that's a different case. But for somebody else, for someone that's with you, is a friend with you, walks with you, eats with you, sleeps with you, wakes up with you, knows everything about you, your in and your out. And that's why he was able to be successful in the betrayal, because he led them exactly to where he knew he would be. And then he said, whoever I kiss would be the one sees him. So he approached Jesus, he embraced Jesus, gave him a kiss, a warm kiss at that. So it was a betrayal. Anyone that takes money in order, with an agreement in exchange for that money, to give a friend out, to sell you sell out your friend. That's a real betrayal. That's the definition of betrayal. All right, so that's the end of the show. I hope it was fun for you. I know it's fun. I promise it will always be fun. So tune in next time. All right, bye.